But now that they've got it, now that they sit there with it, prices will be determined by what they do with it. Are they going to hold on to it? Are they going to get rid of it? When? How much? What's going to be their policy? That will determine a lot about the direction that prices go. If we've got a record 80 million bales of cotton, old crop cotton in inventory out there projected to be on hand. Like I said, half of it's in China. What if China adopts the policy that they're going to be slow to use or not going to use that cotton? That cotton was bought at much higher prices than where the market is right now. That's an important consideration. If China adopts the policy that, okay, we're going to continue to allow imports, we're going to continue to buy cotton, and we're not going to use this big stockpile we've got, or not use it as much, that effectively cuts what we call available stocks in half. Yeah, we've got a record 80 million bales, but half of it's sitting there in China, and if they decide not to use it, then effectively the stock supply is cut in half. The world stock supply is cut in half. That is another reason why we've seen the little uptrend in prices that we've had. A lot of uncertainty about what China is going to do with those stocks. So this is really the key thing. We're starting to see demand improve a little bit, and if you combine that, improvement on the demand side with the uncertainty about what China's going to do with the stocks, and the likelihood that available stocks may be half of what we've really got, and you consider that acreage and production are for sure going to be down this next year, you've got a situation you see that's beginning to tighten some, and the market's beginning to recognize that. So that doesn't mean we're going to go to 90 cents to $1, but that's why you've seen that's why you've seen this little increase from down here at 75 up to 80, and you see the same thing on the okra. Well, this is kind of a summary of kind of where I see us headed. Acreage down, like I said, I think 15 to 20%. I don't think Georgia will be down that much, but really it's anybody's guess. U.S. and world production is likely going to be down. This is going to begin to bring, you know, if you consider the fact that we've got that 80 million bales out there in stocks, prices can't move too high as long as those stocks are kind of hanging over the market. Again, the one caveat being what China does with their half of it. But at some point, that cotton is going to start entering the pipeline. And when it does, that's going to begin to depress prices. So the quickest, you know, the route to better prices is to do what we're going to do in 2013, and that is start cutting back on the new crop pipeline, cut back on production, see some demand growth, and start to whittle down on those stocks. That's a long process. That's a long process. It could take a couple of years at least. So the most likely outlook for prices I see is 75 to 85. We're in that middle range now, the futures. That's why I think it's a good opportunity to do some sort of risk management at this point. Pessimistically, if China decides to put more of that cotton into the pipeline in their mills, if demand does not continue to show some signs of improvement, that's going to push us back down to that 75-cent level or a little bit less. Optimistically, if we have some weather situations, because we are going to cut back on acreage, we are going to cut back on production. If we have some weather situations develop here in the U.S. or somewhere abroad, that combined with continuing to show improvements in the demand side. Optimistically, we could look at something around 85 cents or even maybe better. So the more likely range is kind of the mid-70s to mid-80s, and that's about where we are now. I think there's more risk of the price coming down than it is going up. In other words, if you go back to this chart that I showed you here, yeah, we could track on up to 85, but I think based on where we are right now, I think the risk is that we come back down in this area versus going up in this area. So that's why I say I think one strategy to take would be to price, go ahead and price a little bit right in here, get some protection. And you know, we're at a good level now. We could go on up in here a little bit. If we do price a little bit more, go ahead and take some protection. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Anybody? Okay.
How long can cotton stay in storage? Of course, use.
We were asked that question over in Hazelhurst last night for both cotton and peanuts. And I'm not really sure. I know the longer, it's just like anything else, the longer it stays in storage, particularly in a country like China, you don't know what kind of facilities that they have. And you don't know if this is in a controlled warehouse type environment where humidity and temperature is controlled somewhat, or whether it's you know, outside on the ground under a tarp. Who knows? But it's not unusual for China to have a lot of cotton, and it's not unusual for them to hold it for a long time.
Our mills have run cotton out of surge stock because we've been in there since 1995. And really didn't. What happens with cotton with age is it tends to color up, and the GPT tends to drop, and it loses the oil, you know, the natural oil that comes from the room. So that's one of the reasons why the GPT falls off. A lot of cotton in China, they've got stored in caves, which, you know, is a good place to store wine. The temperature is pretty stable and, you know, nice and dark and cool, and so, you know, I don't know. But we know what they've run in the past, and they've run some real crummy cotton. We've seen some, they can probably run most anything.
The key, and correct me if I'm wrong, the key is that their government pretty much controls, you know, the cotton that really comes in and out.
Well, at some point, they're going to have to make up their mind.
That's right.
If they're going to continue to let the textile, if they make the textile business in China eat the style 25 cotton, they're done.
Right.
It's
their
a
bills
viable world supply.
Yeah. And their mills have been complaining because, you know, they can import cotton cheaper now.
There's a 40% tax, even with the 40% tax that they're paying to the government to import U.S. cotton or any other cotton, they're still cheaper than the world market. But as we continue to go up, as we get to 85 cents and possibly a little bit higher, this helps eat into that reserve. It gives them an opportunity to kind of equal out and give them an opportunity to get rid of some of this stuff. But what we're hearing is the quality of this stuff is not that great. There are a lot of mills that are complaining about the quality of the reserve. But they've got to do something because the Western province had a record price. The big cotton growing area in China.
Well, can you blend cotton? Can you blend cotton, take old cotton, new cotton?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
But like I said, as long as all that cotton's sitting there, hanging over the market, and us not knowing how they're going to, what they're going to do with it, how they're going to do it, it creates a lot of uncertainty.
Well, when we saw the market run 70 cents and cheaper, China was the one that was propping it up. They were coming in and buying cotton so that the market would go back up. Because they can't afford for the market to be that cheap because Vietnam, India, and, you know, Pakistan, all these countries will start producing goods a lot cheaper than they can, and they'll lose their textiles. They've already started trying to put in polyester, anything. They're buying cloth, they're buying yarn, anything, not to have to buy that high-priced cotton. The Chinese textile